All right, looking at turn one of my third game with Johan. First one I'm putting up on YouTube. Lost my first two games to him, and this will be game three. Looks like he's picked Greece as a start. He's a pious commander to begin with. Looking at our start. Doesn't look like we can get any better tiles by moving around. Doesn't look like we can get any more defensive moving around, so I think I'll settle in place. Nothing particularly exciting about the start. I mean, it's a good set of resources, but it's, I should check the settings. What settings are we playing on? Okay. So difficulty is the Magnificent, which is 50 each starting resource, 8 orders per turn, 100 culture, or 100 civics, and 100 training points to start with. Rebel chance, and not a lot of orders per year. Tribe level normal, secession, genders inherit equally, and the oldest child inherits, pretty standard there. Event level high is kind of bizarre. Don't see that a lot. That should be interesting. Coastal rain basin, dual size, so it's tiny. Unique nations, all the victory conditions on, random leaders, mirror map, and medium density. Okay. I believe you can tell by the tile numbers where you are. So that's the edge of the map here at 7, 9. This is going to be the left side of the map over here. So we'd like to scout right, which is going to be towards our opponent. And I believe this also is, so we're at the bottom left-hand corner of the map because we're fourth tile up from the bottom here. So that means northeast is going to be the direction of our opponent. So let's settle in place. There's nothing particularly exciting about the start. The only real resource that stands out is the game, because game is a camp resource, which means hunter families double that resource. So it's a 4 yield growth tile as opposed to 2 yield. In the early game, growth tiles are what builds settlers and workers. In mid game, your capital almost always is a military production place. I think I'm going to play Carthage, though. I haven't played them in a little while. I like them. I like this family in particular. The artisan start is a very strong start, although it's a little hard to use with low orders. And I like the rider family as well, because rider family. So this family gives you free worker, among other things, and this family gives you free scout, among other things, and that combination is quite strong. So let's grab Carthage. I think I'm gonna play as the artisans here, and I'm pretty sure I have forgotten to enable sounds. So let's do that for audio. I want to turn the music off. I like the music in this game a lot, but it's copyrighted, and it triggers copyrights all the time. You can toggle them individually, but I don't know which ones it is. It seems to be all of them for me right now. And then we'll turn off mute and just play normally. Okay. Looking at this start, Carthage starts with divination, which is shrine tech, but doesn't have access to stone cutting to begin with. Early shrine is fairly powerful. Especially as this family builds urban improvements at at -2 turns, which means a shrine is, instead of 4 turns, it's 2 turns, which is really good. The issue here is that with these starting resources, we are not going to be able to build another slinger early. Well, we could, but we can't build a shrine and a slinger. So our options are essentially build a settler, build a slinger, or build settler, settler. We might not find, but I can see 2 city sites, right? There's 2 clear city sites right here, there, and there, both of which we're going to want to settle. All right, I think that decides it for me. I don't really like slingers in the early game. They tend to be less flexible than warriors by and large. Essentially, any terrain with scrub or trees makes your slingers fairly useless. So I don't like to build a lot of slingers in the early game. I prefer warriors. Without warrior tech here for a little bit, we might have to go second slinger, but I can delay it a little bit. Oftentimes your early tech snowballs. Oh, I didn't look at our leader. Our leader, also a commander. I think in mirror matches these days, random leaders mirror. Unfortunately, our commander looks a little bit worse than his commander. Our commander has extra healing off of heal action. His commander has extra stats. In this case, civics and training points, both of which are fairly good early. So we got a little bit worse of a leader role here, but oh well. Maybe we can make up for it with some Goody Hut RNG. There's a Goody Hut right there. We would like to see that soon. But this turn, let's get the farm going. And let's get the... I'm going to drop a shrine. The early culture is good for unique unit production. I don't mind. So shrines give you... shrines found paganism. Paganism gives you 2 culture per turn in the city that is there. So the shrine will have the shrine effects, whatever they may be, and 2 culture. The Carthage shrines are okay. This shrine is very bad, but the other 3 are fine. But in this scenario here, I don't think I'm going to get any shrine bonuses. I would like to set this one up in a better location later, which is gold per adjacent resource. I don't want to waste the shrine. Shrines are 1 of each type per empire, and until much later in the game when you get a tech that allows, or a law that allows you different things. But here I'm going to drop this shrine of Astarte. We'll do it right here. This will grab these 3 tiles directly adjacent to the shrine, as well as the game, which is another growth resource, or the game growth builds settlers and workers. You can see that right here. Currently, this is making 10 growth per turn. In a second, we'll add the 1 from the shrine, the 2 from the farm, and the other 2 from the game, which will bring us up to 15, so a 50% increase of growth right off the bat. 2 actions left. What is this? This is choose a tech? No, this is let's found our capital. Good call. Ooh, 2 culture up there as well. So first things first, let's add the general to our slinger. We don't know where we're going with it yet, but we get XP per year by just having him on the general, and it makes the slinger faster. Slinger's movement speed to begin with is 2, and when we add a general, it goes to 3. Well, not any general, but our leader general. And then we'll move our scout up towards the goody hut. I'm probably going to harvest both of these incense. Generally, getting your capital to developing culture very early is very strong. A, you get the culture event, and B, you can rush things with civics, which is a nice use of civics for just getting the game snowballing. And the last thing I want to do is we're currently at 0 stone with -1 stone per turn. And the problem with that is it's going to gold convert, so it will buy some from this. But we have 0 gold, which means we're going to sell a resource. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it goes 48 first and then sell it. But either way, I don't want to tick down a point of food. So my next settler is going to cost me 100 food. And I'll get 10 a turn from that in 3 turns. So by the time this finishes, I'll have 80 food. And I don't think this one will finish in time. So I just don't want to have to buy more food than I need to. I might discover some. It's possible, but I think at the moment I'm either going to sell wood or stone, or wood or iron. So the iron isn't super useful to me right now since I can't build a warrior, and I will have an iron mine online in a little bit. So I think right off the bat, I'm just going to sell 10 of these right now. So I'll just sell 10 of those, get a little bit of cash for that, and call it a day. All right, guys, I'll see you next turn. All right, loading up turn 2 of my game with Flaxen, Johan. Let's take a look what we got. All right, so first things first. Only 5 orders, that's so rough. Okay. Harvest. Goody hut. I like this pop-up, but there's no way we can, unfortunately, acquire this at 200 food this early. It's just too expensive. So we'll grab the extra gold per turn. Not bad, but not great. Was there a second pop-up in this game? No. Don't know where barbs are yet. Could come back and harvest. Have 2 workers as well. Could leave that for later. The culture's good. We're Carthage too. We could actually probably rush a settler. Might be good to get these on CD. It's a D10 roll every turn to regenerate, so the only way to facilitate that is just to do it. It's just to cut it. All right. Both busy. No reason to move the leader until I have a reason to bring him somewhere. And let's just scout. Do I want to scout up by the site we're going to settle? It's not a very exciting settle, honestly. I mean, it's a ton of quarry resources, but I mean, look at it. It's just raw hills right now. What did we decide the locations were? This is backwards, right? Yeah, so we want to go east anyways. I should probably just head up this way. Another culture resource. All right, not much else this turn. See you in a minute. All right, turn 3. Shrine up, paganism up, culture up. Should have really good culture gain as an artisan capital with early shrines. All right, what's our useless scout doing? Not a whole lot. We want to get this camp online. I would like to chop. Oh, that's interesting. 2 coastals here from that site. I don't think I knew about those before. We can get these if we wanted. I just don't know if we do. It's hard to get luxuries going in the multiplayer games. The question is, do I want to double chop this? I at least want to single chop it. All right. Dude, this is so few orders. All right. 2 actions left. I think rushing a settler is going to be really solid in here. We should have the civics as Carthage. And just go from 1 to 3 settlers right off the bat would be pretty sick. 1 to 3 cities, I mean. All right. That's aggressive use of our orders without a lot of sight gained, but oh well. All right. See you on turn 4. Turn 4. Still no spotting of barbs, which is a little bit wasteful with the commander leader sitting around this long. This looks like we're settlers here for the foreseeable future. So what are we gonna do about that? Could do some more farms adjacent to the wheat, which will boost small adjacency yields for the growth, which is what we build settlers off of. Could get our ore online, which is probably good for selling, especially if we're going to need to buy food here. Although farms presumably generate food as well. Here's where the continuity of doing it via cloud as opposed to real time comes in, because I'm not quite sure what I wanted to do with this worker. I think I had a plan. It was probably get the ore online, honestly. This early is very powerful. It's just quite a bit of movement. Probably needs to happen though. Okay, 2 actions left for the scout. I'd like to see some terrain. All right, what is this? The Scythians. They are a very annoying neighbor. So what do we have? Maintain the truce and get 60 wood is pretty good. 6 legitimacy. Or 60 culture. Or Sylvan? What is Sylvan? It's a subset of Tactician, Herbalist, Ranger, Tracker, Highlander, or Swift. Huh. Are we actually going to get utility out of this? So now this is really interesting because although the wood is really good here, 60 culture is the next culture event. We'll hit a turn 4 developing culture, which seems too good to pass up, right? First of all, I can rush things. So what I can do is once the settler finishes, I can rush the camp, which will expand the borders to the fish, which gives me another growth tile, which also builds 1 more tile closer to the pearls, which means I can grab that with either a village or a shrine in a minute if I wish. This looks like a nice little area too, if we ever get this into our borders. Not sure we will, but we could. That's pretty sick. I would like the trees, but I think here we're gonna take the culture. Let's take a look at our culture event that we trigger off of that. Huh. We can switch to a judge. Not terribly excited by the judge. It may actually be the worst archetype. We can gain a bunch of orders this turn. And some experience, which isn't terrible. Or we can build this thing. The Mythophoria. 20% culture, not bad. 20% civics, not bad. 20% maintenance. Generally, these These are projects, essentially. They add to the project list of your city. Just find them over here in the project list. Generally, the projects are pretty powerful, but this one and the Green Dole are kind of medium for multiplayer. I don't know. This is probably good enough, honestly. So let's grab it. I do like the specialist production out of central or local civics. And culture in the cap is pretty solid, especially for unique units. I'm not against it. Let's go for it. So we'll take that. We can see the project list there, what it's doing for us, costing us gold, but giving us a bunch of other stuff. One movement here. We have truce with them, so I can move past them. Question is, do I want to move? I definitely want to move east, but do I want to move east or northeast? What's the size of this map, by the way? This is the tiny one, right? Yes. No hills, or rather only one hill. This looks like it's kind of walled in by mountains. There's going to be a goodie hut probably in there. But I kind of want to see what we're working with. Let's head up this way. All right, they'll do it. Turn 5. So I have our first hostile location, but still not super valuable to move over there. It's maybe just a good scout turn for once. No hills makes scouting around here awkward. Just really hoping for open space there. The Danes with no value in not fighting them. Probably rather keep the Scythians happy than the Danes anyways. I would like the legitimacy, so let's grab it. Somewhere to bring our military unit if we want it. We're going to have a lot of actions next turn since, what is it, 3 units? No, 2 units next turn plus the scout. So we want to make sure the scout ends in a safe spot. Is it a hill? This is a hill. This is the edge of the map, though. That's the bottom, and that's the top. This is a tiny, tiny map. I really don't like dual-size maps. I should have said something when he offered it. Goody hut. We're 1 off force marching, which is kind of a bummer. We can get it next turn, assuming we don't get scalped. It seems extremely likely to me that our military unit is going to want to be through this military pass. We're going to want to A, settle this relatively quickly, and B, start fighting the Danes, I believe. So I think we want to utilize this movement. Question is where? I'd rather secure the city site. And I wouldn't mind scouting a little bit, but I'm pretty sure leader units don't have any additional site. Guess we're just going to move up this way. All right, I think that's it. We haven't married yet. I don't really want to spend civics on forcing a marriage when we will get one anyways. But missing the stats from a spouse right now is kind of starting to hurt. It's just, if we already have developing culture, we can use civics to rush things like settlers or specialists, and I'd really prefer not to spend the civics on a marriage contract. Anyways, that will do it for this turn. I'll see you guys soon. Turn 6. Settler out. I think we might have to revise our initial plan. This map might be too small to invest heavily in growth here. Like, for example, picking up the second fish with an upgraded camp might might not be good enough. Especially if we can just rush a settler. Don't have 100 food this instant. I don't know the civics cost of rushing the first one, but I'm pretty sure it's under 350. I think it's like 270 maybe. Let's grab this, see what we're getting. Don't love this event. 250 gold is not all that much right now. 1 military point is okay. Not terribly exciting, not terrible. Make that decision in a moment, I suppose. If we're close enough, it might be relevant. So military points early if you don't have a hero are basically extra actions, promotions, and assigning generals. Tends to be enough early generals to go around. All right, so the plan here, presumably, is another settler. And I think I want to settle forward first, Could actually get it down this turn. Can get that salt in the borders. Salt's nice because you actually have the tech to put it online, unlike the incense, which is entirely useless till much later. What's the AP to get up here? I have 2 left when I move there, 1 left after settling. Probably just enough to move the scout to safety. So what's the cost of buying this? 101 gold. We're gonna start that. It's just too valuable if we get the this guy out. 540. Huh. Surprised by that. I wonder what it's based on. Maybe the production cost? So that production is 100, and normally these things are what? What are the military units? Production 60. I'm really curious about that. I'd like to see if we have 2 equivalents. So these are equivalent, a worker and a scout. If I were to rush them, what would they cost? 370 and 370. So it probably is based on production cost to do it. All right, either way, start our settler. Do we want the gold? I don't know, man. I don't really want the gold. Let's see what this shows us when we settle. I'd prefer to settle there. We get a ton of extra tiles here, but I'm not even sure that's good. I mean, I guess a couple more quarry tiles are okay, and we can always quarry over the incense. Problem with including the incense in our borders, we don't get a second harvest. Although, to be fair, we did get tier 2 already off the single harvest. We lose whatever's over there, but you know, you're always losing something. It's probably okay. Let's go there. Who are we settling this as? We are Carthage. So the city will not be city connected since we do not have rivers heading up that way. This other city will be city connected. So there's some argument for riders right there. City connection isn't super insanely important, but it's a little bit important. It's growth and gold, I believe. The 2 other ones we're going to be playing are the Didonian Seat and the Barcid Riders. Barcid Riders gives us another scout right now, which is pretty nice too. No horses in this city, so there is a benefit, or that we can see. So there is a benefit to making rider capital there too. And I would like to just spam decrees in the back. There's marble up there too that we might be able to add to that city eventually. So let's try the rider city here, I think. All right, Goody Hut there. We have a scout for it. We can head towards it next turn. At the moment, my scout's vulnerable to these Danes attacking it, which I don't really want. I could risk moving there. It's a commander unit, so we're not going to die if there is a military unit there. And I could harvest this, although 8 iron isn't terribly exciting. Do we have... This is interesting. We do have the ability to run centralization right now. So this is the Carthage bonus for settling a city that just generated the extra civics, which is here. We could rush the settler now, honestly. So what will I build next turn? Do we have ironworking? We do not have ironworking. So it's probably worker if I rush this. I really can't afford the actions for another worker quite yet. But in fact, we can't build military at all right now. It's really rough. But sending some workers up here, of course, is going to be useful. They will get negative city affinity, sadly. But that's what we got. And I actually kind of do need new food, more food. I wonder what the cost of rushing that is. So that's production 60. So presumably it's close to the production on the scout. I mean, we could look with this one, right? This is production 40. So presumably it's 50% more than this one. So about 320. 360 even. So honestly, right now, the extra food is kind of relevant. If we're going to build a worker here, drains food per turn. We're only making 17 food per turn, and we may not be able to afford another settler, and we don't have military we can build, and there's basically nothing else in this city except specialists. Although perhaps that's what we do. Perhaps we hard build the trapper. Just seems weird to, if I'm gonna rush something, why don't I rush the overtime production of something as opposed to, I mean, we get value out of the settler, right? What's the actual city itself worth? No food, but growth and a bunch of other resources. And it's worth another 200 culture, when we, another 200 civics when we settle. I am definitely talking myself into just taking this. Could take the gold here as well. If we're gonna have to buy all these resources, the gold might be more valuable than that single military point. It feels bad not to build stats on your leader. But the stats are also more relevant. Well, they get more relevant the more you have, of course, but they're also a little bit relevant 2 or above. There's a number of checks that based around having 2. I really don't hate it. So if we purchase this, 43 gold. Rushed this guy for 290 civics. Turns currently are 7 to build this, plus 1 for the trappers, 8. I assume, well, we're not going to be able to. If we rush this, we're not going to be able to rush the other one at all. Also drains food building this by how much? 20, which isn't too bad. Decisions. Well, the worker wouldn't mind moving and adding more food and growth, right? We can only do that if we border expand. And even if I don't care so much about the growth a little bit later, I will care about the culture and I will care about the food. Although we have good farmland, so the food may not be that relevant. I think this wants to happen. I think I'm just going to hide it rather than take the ore for the harvest. I think we're going to be pretty busy next turn. Worker or scout to the thing, the warrior or the slinger to move up. This guy getting assigned something if the settler comes out. I think we want to do our final move to make the worker safe. I'd like to take the hill. Okay. Decisions here. So many things to rush, so little civics. I mean, the immediate thought is the settler generates more civics. More civics means I can invest in the law. Could even wait a turn, do it the other way around. It's just, I feel like getting this unit down is really good. It's just, for what? What are we doing with it? I guess we could purchase the food with cash and just build another settler. Do we know where we're going to go? If we could take this out and get another city out and have 4 cities, this would be I am assuming my opponent is over here somewhere. If we controlled these 2 adjacent cities right off the bat, it'd be pretty solid. Block off this portion of the map. Although what then? I'm going to move the settler up north. Probably another site in there as well. This one is never going to be contested, this back city site. Would be nice to double dip the growth also being the food as opposed to the farms, which are just food. So we will double our civics per turn if we take centralization this turn, which is not nothing. But we gained 200 for settling, and we're getting 20 a turn already. So if we just rush the settler, maybe hard build the camp afterwards, or maybe even another settler then the camp. I don't think we're gonna have the food for an immediate another settler. Could also wait a couple turns and then rush it. Like the other thing, I guess we could go vassalage first. This will go down in cost, which will be nice. It's a lot of civics to spend, but I mean, just getting another guy out right now just seems really huge. Depends how bad the city is, I suppose. There's a fish there, but this is just a lot of flat, open terrain that's not even lush, although it is on a river. It does look like a kind of garbage city. It looks quite a bit better with both the iron mine, the hills, the forest to chop. I wonder if the city would grab our marble or not. Marble's very solid, and we can build shrines as this faction, although we don't have any stone. I think I'm gonna have to take the gold, sadly. And that gives us some flexibility here. I think we are rushing the settler. Do we do it this turn though, or do we take vassalage now? Or not vassalage, centralization. So this brings us down to 150, going up by 20s every turn. Going up by 40 every turn, rather. So it's 190 immediately. This is going to go down, presumably by a seventh each time, which is what? What's a seventh of 540? Let's find out. 77, supposedly. So how many turns is that then? Somewhere around like 3 or 4 before we can rush that. It's an investment. The problem is, normally I would just slam the city and build warriors, but we don't have warrior tech. It's really movement inefficient to move this worker out and then come back down here too, though. And this is a pretty nice area to both improve the fish and then chop this whole area out for wood. Have this guy invest in a quarry in a couple turns if we can. Gonna have to get something for military production too, since we're gonna have to build another slinger basically, since we don't have ironworking. Man, decisions on turn 6 apparently. It's interesting. I kind of like the idea of grabbing the centralization. All right. Does that leave us 150? Could throw the trapper in the queue. We won't lose production on it, but it lets me at least eyeball and remember what I'm trying to do. With 290 to rush that if we want. Worker can't move this turn anyways. We could chop a couple times first and still make it to the fish, presumably. When it's in our borders. So let's try this. I'm not sure if that's right or not. I mean, time will tell a little bit, but I'm curious to see in comments and or analysis from other players later the sequence they would have done here. I think this is the second greediest sequence, the centralization play. I think the first greediest sequence is the immediate rush of the trapper, followed by a hard build on the settler. And I might be playing even greedier here in a minute, which might be centralization into trapper, into settler. It's just, this city doesn't do anything right now. Even if I do something like settle it and start generating decrees, it's still draining all my civics for things that I want to do here. I kind of like the idea of a settler not taking all the full cost of civics for this. Anyways, long-winded way of saying I'm not sure what to do here. Hopefully the decisions make sense. I'll see you next turn.